Hello and welcome to Digital Talk Podcast, the podcast where we share stories with the wider community of how digital technology and telecoms can do good. Join me, Ian Ginn.
And me, Frankie Spagnolo, on our Discovery series as we talk to our guests and find out about themselves, what motivates them, and help celebrate their projects and achievements.
Today we are delighted to be joined by Shaun Collins, the founder of analyst and advisory firm CCS Insight and head judge of the GSMA GloMo Awards. In this episode, we delve deeper into the GloMo Awards and how they are promoting a better world.
Welcome back, Shaun.
Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you very much, Frankie. I'm looking forward to part two.
Just to mention, we're really glad to have you as our first guest because, you and the GloMos and the GSMA were somehow involved with the inception of this idea indirectly. We actually have shot a podcast where we actually talk about how this whole thing came about. So anyone who hasn't listened to that so far, please, I think it's the first episode, you'll find out why and how we came to setting up this show. But this is really, I think, about to celebrate the work done with the GloMo Awards, right? And your involvement there. So maybe I can ask the sort of first question related to that. So how did CCS or yourself get involved with the GloMos, with the GSMA? How did it all come about?
I've been involved with the GloMos on and off as a judge for quite a while. I encourage as many of our people to get involved in the organisation of CCS Insight as reasonably can contribute to the judging, which is both time-consuming and quite technical at times, as I know you know, Ian. And so that's how we've originally been involved in the GloMos. And of course, you can't go to MWC anytime in person and not know the GloMos. I hope you can't go and not know the GloMos are going on.
Certainly.
If they don't listen to it now, they'll find out through this if they haven't heard it before.
And so even if we weren't involved, that wouldn't be the case. And the GSMA, I think, have can get a lot of brickbats, but I think the GloMos is one of the things that they've done brilliantly well. They made a decision very early doors to make it arm's length, so it's that it's run outside of the GSMA, and I am the primary relationship into the GSMA, both at the senior level and at an operational level, to be able to tell them how it's going, to be able to serve them as the judge's representative, and also to serve for the GSMA's representative back into the judges where appropriate. It doesn't happen very often to be able to do that. And that independence, I think, is at literally the center of what the GloMos are in terms of what it is. There is no paying to play in this, which I think has been leveled at a few award ceremonies over the years, whether rightly or wrongly. So I think that's the first. And I was invited to become chair of the judges in 2017.
Okay.
By the then CMO, who invited me to take over from the previous chief judge. And I honestly can tell you that it's a lot of hard work. It's much harder work than I think I understood it to be, but it's very, very worthwhile. It's immensely interesting, and I genuinely love doing it. If they're going to have to drag me kicking and screaming out of it, because I think it's a true privilege to be involved in it.
Well, I think your passion speaks for itself, and it's great to also be part of it. And I can, just for those people listening who do question about, let's say, the integrity of the judging, each category which I've been involved with, I'm one of several judges. I don't see the marking of the other judges. So everyone is using their professional skills and merits to decide on their own. And then that is consolidated and brought together to come to decisions. So I think that's something people should know. So it would be amazingly challenging to fix it, and that's not what it's about.
I think there's one other thing I would add as well, Ian. I think I said to you earlier that we have many hundreds of judges judging all of the categories individually, not each category. There are one or two exceptions to this, but not many, where you have one judge in one category.
Okay.
One judge doesn't judge many categories. And I think that's also a very important thing, because it may be that a variety of things have gone on. It also could be that, the judge could be skewed by seeing something similar elsewhere. And so anyway, all of those things we strive very hard to make sure cannot happen. You're right, the judges can't see each other's scores and have no idea who the shortlists are until we tell them, until the GSMA tell them more precisely who the shortlists are just prior to the publication of them. So the combination of those two things, I think, are very, very important.
Okay. And the category I think of particular interest, at least by name, is Tech for Good.
Yes.
And I believe there are now 6 actually subcategories, I guess, under that sort of area. When was that added? Was that when was that added to?
It's a very good question. We used to have 1 or 2, what I guess would now be considered Tech for Good awards, spread throughout the GloMos. The GloMos went through a big pruning, like many other industries, around COVID, because frankly, we don't need to go back there, but the budget started to get cut quite heavily because MWC didn't take place. And we had to make some contribution to that in some way. And Tech for Good was already operating before that, but we consolidated some of these awards you see today into that category at that point. The Tech for Good category itself predates me. So I was 2017, and it's before I joined. I can't tell you exactly when, but it was before I joined in 2017, and I hadn't judged this category in my role as a judge. So
were there 6 then at that point?
I think there were 6 categories, with all 6 categories of GloMos. We currently have 30 GloMos. At one point, we were up to about 43 or 44.
Wow.
So we've pruned it back quite a lot, both in terms of trying to consolidate some things and also reflect. The world moves on.
Well, is that part of, that's what I was going to ask, is that part of like the annual process, or is that, okay, so it is done annually, you take a look at those awards, because you also have the sort of like the Champion Awards or the Government Enablement Award, and because those are also about those kind of change makers in the industry. Yes.
So there are 3 types of GloMos. There is the quote-unquote normal GloMo, which is the vast majority. I think from memory, and don't quote me on this, I'll have to go back and check it, but I think about 24 of these are judged by entry. So they have to pay to enter, they have to enter appropriately, and then they're judged individually by a constituency of judges, which can be quite a number of judges. It'll be 10, 12, whatever it is,
Certainly.
Maybe more than that in each category. Sometimes it's up to 20 judges in those categories. And so that's the first lot. The second lot is only 2 categories at the moment, which is in the devices category space, where they are nominated by the judges themselves. So they're so diverse and so difficult to corner down. And we decided, before my time, that we would use nominations of the judges to provide that input in there. One is the best smartphone, and the other one is the disruptive device innovation, which is more broadly about what's in a smartphone: batteries, hinges, chips, AI, whatever it might be. And you'll see that there as well. And then the third one is the ones that are in the specific gift of the GSMA. And those are the ones you're talking about, the governmental ones, and the recognition of individual contribution to our industry. Those are largely given out at the meetings and the board meetings that happen in the weekend before MWC,
right?
As opposed to the ones we give out. All of the rest are given out at our event, which this year is on Wednesday evening of MWC at 17:30 in Hall 6.
If we can move to the Tech for Good area, I know this is most likely they're all your children, so it's difficult to pick a favourite. But is there one where you go, I'm more passionate, or I see it more value coming out of it, if you like?
I would struggle to pick one out over the others. I think each year there are entries and winners that come out of one of these categories, which I find particularly important or have an impact both with the audience and the judges, or I just think are a darn good idea. I have no judging responsibilities, by the way, because I'm the neutral at the top, really. I think for me, the ones I look out for are 4C, which is the best use of mobile for accessibility and inclusion, which I just feel is a very important, currently probably more important than it has been in the last 10 years, use of GloMos to reflect and amplify and celebrate areas of our industry that contributes to those things. And then one of the 6 new ones that we've had this year, the 6 new GloMos this year, is 4F, which is the best mobile innovation for enhancing the lives of children and young people. I hope I've got that right. Which was one that came out of a long discussion that we had in the summer of last year about how we felt we wanted to sell. There wasn't a natural place for that in our in our program. We felt there wasn't. There wasn't a natural place for it. And we wanted to fight to call that out specifically.
I think there's 1 million people in the UK who've registered blind or something like that.
Yeah,
it's quite a large.
And we have a couple of judges who are registered blind, and so they have an understanding of a deep and personal understanding of what it is that's required of technology, and to make their lives better, easier, more straightforward, whatever it might be. But nonetheless, I think that those are the two which I'm really watching very closely. AI has a big part to play in this part of the world as well, I think so.
Have you seen through the GloMo Awards how mobile telephony is really driving or addressing global challenges? Is there one that stands out? Does it work more in poverty or in education? Is there a real role that you see that the innovators are playing, or is it just the tech itself?
On behalf of the judges to the GSMA and the GSMA back to the judges, I'm that kind of liaison. Having been a judge myself intermittently for many years, for the last 7 years, I've been the leader of the GloMos externally to the GSMA. And the GSMA, to their credit, keep it at arm's length because they want it to be seen as
independent.
In their words, the Rolls Royce of the awards ceremonies, which I think many see it as. I'm delighted, and certainly the judges who come on and spend their time for nothing, judging a lot of work sometimes. And Ian's been a stalwart of this for a long time. Then we see the GloMos are a way to celebrate, reflect, and amplify where we are seeing some cutting edge elements of that marketplace. And the way we do the GloMos largely is to split into two lots. And I've said this a couple of times before. We split it into what the technology is and what it does. And what the technology is the category 1 and category 3, which is devices and network. And then category 2 and category 4, category 4 is tech for good. And category 2 is where we talk about applications that people use on the actual technology itself. Talk about those elements where that technology, 5G and 4G for that matter, although largely 5G, is being used in places that make a difference to people. Largely people, but also to environments or whatever it might be. So in those, yes, we absolutely have seen those. And I think certainly tech for good, which is category 4, is always the one that commands most emotion on the stage, I think. And I said this in an interview last week. The others are fairly, big companies putting in big award applications, and it's all very, this is what it is, this is what it does, aren't we brilliant?
Yes.
Make of it what you can. But in Tech for Good, we're talking about some very, very important areas where we affect people and affect environments and affect societies. And that will be everything from inclusion and diversity all the way through to young people and understanding the impact on young people. And in those are the ones, Frankie, where I see things that I think, wow, that's impressive. And those are the ones where we get small organizations who apply, and it costs €500 to apply, by the way. So those big organizations, that's just a marketing rounding error for them.
Right.
But for somebody, if it's your small technology baby that you've been looking after for 2, 3, 4, 5 years in your home or in your village or in your society, and nobody's really been listening to you, and it gets reflected on a stage in front of the glare of the world's
Congress, right?
The world's technological publicity. It can be very moving, really. Even for me, as an old jaded observer of the industry, I can get very moved up there. And there's been a few where I've said that, where we're helping people with disabilities, particularly blindness, and that's been a big theme over the last few years. There was one that literally a married couple had put together using a 4G application. Actually, it was 5 years ago, so it was 2018, 6 years ago, 2018. And they came on stage, and there was just the two of them. It was a particular technology that looked at how to identify or purify water in difficult-to-serve areas with water, in largely Africa, but not exclusively. This young lady came on stage with her husband, I think it was her partner anyway, and started talking and just burst into tears. And I just had to help her a little bit, because she was just so emotional about it. And then he couldn't talk because he was getting emotional.
Oh, no.
And I mean, this is the GloMos. Nobody sees that in the GloMos. They don't see that because they were just so overwhelmed by the fact that people who they conceive to be the eyes and ears of the industry saw their little thing, which is tiny, on enormous networks, and said, do you know what? This is some of the best thing I've seen for a long time, and recognize them.
Fantastic.
It's really powerful.
It's really powerful.
Yeah.
You know, I get moved now talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it moved Ian to really want to start this podcast. And I mean, for me, it's what drives all of my efforts is what is this really doing? What's the impact, right? And, you have to, I said to Ian, get into a different relationship with what really success looks like for you. But God, what it is and to be able to see when technology really changes lives and has a real world impact. It's why I'm so excited about this series and excited and grateful for what you've been doing with the Mobile World Congress and GloMo and having that as a category. Awards have a very serious impact. It can be a big boys club for a lot of reasons, and having that in there it's extremely important, especially where we are in the industry and like you said, for the industry and taking accountability. So thank you for that. And
we've made some changes in that, we will make it cheaper for small startups to come in. It's not €500 anymore. We've done awards where just taking off the table of just the big guys. There are still, these are big companies, but you have to have turnover less than 10 million in the mobile tech category to try and invite some of those smaller but successful startups in. So we try and do that. We've tried to generate better diversity in the way that in the application process,
right.
Both geographic and gender diversity. I think we've been partially successful. I think we've got more work to do, and I take responsibility for that, by the way. We just need to do more of it, more of it in more impactful ways. And we're looking at that. Next year is the 30th anniversary of the GloMos, and we're going to try and find a way to celebrate some of that appropriately, both in terms of those small winners who get very, very profoundly changed by the win, and also some of the big winners who can change the way that they sell, market, and deliver, which is also important. I'm not stupid.
It is important.
This is a commercial venture as much as it is the awards.
Right, and it drives that kind of stuff drives innovation. Money follows it. It is in getting ready for this interview. I went in MIT, Oxford. All of the studies around the impact of awards and how they can really be a driver for innovation in the industry, not just within the companies, is significant. With this, organizations like the Unconnected, right, who are leveraging a wide variety of technologies. And of course, they have no idea I'm asking this question. So there's none of that going on. But how and where would organizations like that fall into the categories at GloMo?
Well, there's a couple of things, a couple of GloMos that we try to capture that in. There are the more general technology ones, which I hope they feel comfortable as a community to go for in something like the Partnership Awards, or which are in mobile tech largely. But there's also, I think it's 4A, is the best mobile innovation for, I think we've called it emerging markets this year.
Correct.
And then the other one, which I think is a little bit of a catch-all, and I don't like the fact that we use it in this way. Sorry, that it is used in this way, but it's very important as a category. Is I think it's 4E, which is the mobile contribution to the UN SDGs, and of course you'll know the US SDGs, and that gives us a nice open book to invite people in organizations or individuals in who are developing something in that space.
I see.
So I think those would be the two I would concentrate on if I was looking at it from the outside in.
Now, and this might not be something you are involved in, but the GSMA only chooses a certain amount of the UN sustainability goals to really promote through the event. Is that something that is that you guys are involved in, or is that just completely arbitrary? And
no, it's not arbitrary. I think to give the GSMA their credit. But certainly, this has been driven by Mats at the head of the Mats Grinnerud, who's the Director General, has been for 7 or 8 years now, the Director General of GSMA. He's very keen on using both the power of the GSMA and the GloMos to reflect that segment of the marketplace where we're trying to reflect those smaller, perhaps harder to reach, very important changes in societies which can make the difference between life and death, as we said earlier.
Certainly.
And UN SDGs is a nice catch-all for that. However, I think if they were to celebrate every single one, because I think there's 41 or something, there's a lot.
It's a lot. I knew, yes.
All of them are really important.
Certainly.
But I think honestly, they just wouldn't have time to do every single one. So I think what they try and do is find something that they can highlight in the themes of the show, and they will always do that. And you will notice that if I tell you now, and I'll tell your audience, you will notice that when any of those senior leaders, and most of the GSMA representatives are out on stage at MWC, they always wear the SDG badge on their lapel. And I've noticed that everywhere they've done that recently.
Yeah.
So I think they are. That doesn't mean they're committed to it, but I know internally they have a big program committed to SDGs beyond just GloMos.
Certainly, I love going around and hunting for those pins, even more so than the Android pins, because I really feel that they have weight. What they're saying is important, and so that's a great piece of gamification that really, highlights that. And it's good to know that they are thinking about really those pieces and how it ties into the awards. And the only thing I miss is that book of exhibitors they used to give us every year. Although certainly that doesn't fall under sustain.
I've got one in the back of my office here, and not the last one, but certainly one of those. But of course, thank God it's not. You're quite right. Sustainability now. Yeah. The only thing that they really publish now in the organisations is Mobile World Daily or Mobile Live Daily.
The Live Daily, yeah.
Daily. And that's required reading. If you're at the show, if anybody's at the show, you must get that daily. And there's a preview show. There's a preview one, which again I think is required reading, which I think is published online this week. It must be this week because it's 2 weeks from now. So yeah, it must be this week. They'll probably Wednesday, I think. And I would have a look for that because that will tell you a lot about what to expect at the show. And then last week, MWC Unwrapped was part of the program for Mobile World Live, which is their TV production program. And in that, we talked about GloMos, but they also talked about themes and tips and tricks and what to understand about there. And I think given the fact that at their press conference, which they do every year, the GSMA do every year in Barcelona, in the preview of MWC, they were pretty confident about saying they expect 95,000 people there this year. You could be guaranteed it's going to be more than 100,000. So and that means we're back to the kind of levels of attendance that we were at certainly pre-COVID. Yeah. The record I think is 107. I think, and I don't think we'll get that high. I'd be surprised if they got that high, but who knows? If I could just 2 seconds on the team. First of all, there's a team of people who do this. Not just me. There's a team of people who do this. Beth Sharples, who everybody will know if they're involved in judging, is absolutely central to this, and honestly does most of the hard work in it, if I'm really honest with you. But in the planning for the...
Because events are hard.
Exactly. But the team inside the GSMA also work very hard with us in helping us to make the most of it in the best possible way. And then also... I never stop talking about the judges because this is only about the judges. Without the judges, honestly, we couldn't have the kind of kudos and profile that this awards program has. And the judges who do this all for nothing, I keep saying this, they do it for nothing. They do it for the professional pride and for the awareness and understanding of perhaps some cutting edge elements of their industry. And it can be a grind because it's over in the Western world, a big holiday season. So, over Thanksgiving and largely Thanksgiving, and then into the Christmas holidays and the New Year holidays, at least for the Western world, it's not an easy time. And so we never forget that and say thank you to the judges. And I'd like to do more if we could for the judges. Frankly, it's difficult, but we'd like to do more if we can. But the GSMA program is always changing. So within 3 weeks of the end of this MWC, we'll have sat down together, done a wash up of what we did, gone through the categories, decided which we're keeping and which we're changing. Is there anything that we would bring in that we wouldn't bring in? That we'd like to bring in that we could reflect in a better way. So this year we brought in 6 new categories, exactly the base. That's a lot. Normally it's 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot. It is. But, there's so much going on. That's the thing.
Right.
And the GloMos are once a year, right? It's only because there's MWC Shanghai and Las Vegas now. Is it going to stick with
So there's only GloMos. There's there's an ammo program, which is the Asian Mobile Awards, which is at MWC Shanghai. It's a much smaller program, largely aimed at celebrating Asian technology, but not exclusively, as you might expect in Shanghai. I do that as well, more as a I was going to say as a favor. That sounds awful. That's not true at all. I do it more because I want to do it. I don't do it out of any particular contractual basis. I do it because I want to do it.
Well, that's the same sort of thing like you were saying about the judges is clearly the involvement in this role in the industry, both in the dedication to it and in the confidentiality and integrity required to really produce something that has credibility. It requires people who are inspired by the magic of technology, right? Exactly. And who are in it for real. And yeah, so that's very cool. Ian, well done on being a judge. Again, Shaun, I gratitude where it is due. And, you could, if you proliferate a whole bunch of little awards, you could have all the little award winners come together and compete against each other at Mobile World Congress.
Well, I think there's things we can do which are a little different in the awards program itself, but they're tweaks. Wholesale change is not on the horizon just yet. I could be more radical, but I think it's hard. This isn't a program that you can change and just send on its way. You have to do it in incremental bits, and I think that
certainly.
There are things I'd like to see more of, things I'd like to see perhaps a little less of. I'd like to find a way to make to recognize the judges more appropriately and to give them more of a profile as a result. And we've tried more of that this year, as you know, Ian. So it's evolution, not revolution, is the best way to do this at the moment.
So you were talking about the team and, I was commiserating about how hard it is to actually pull off events. Is that a team that's dedicated solely to GloMo within CCS? Is it a joint team with the GSMA?
So there's a team of 2 external suppliers, ourselves, CCS Insight, and that's largely down to me. But I do quite a lot of communication as well. So I will rely on our editors, because we have editors in our organization. So they'll look at, so it's very, very basic work that we do as a team. Most of it falls to me to do. However, many of our team are judges, as many as I can persuade to do it, to be honest with you, because I think it's a great exercise to do, genuinely a great exercise to do. So that's really, really important. I think that then there is a company called CC Group who are in charge of managing the recruitment and the administration of the judges. Of course, we have a contribution in that. I have a contribution in that. And then I go through the judges list with them to make sure that we don't feel there's any conflicts of interest to be too strong. But nonetheless, appropriate judging, let's put it that way. And then make sure we go through that. And then the GSMA, of course, team, who are fantastic and very, very supportive, are the content and management team for MWC more broadly. And we include them when we feel they need to be included, in the sense that they want us to be away from it. They don't want to be involved, because that's not the point of it. The only time we would get involved with them, at least in the process of judging, is if there's an issue with something. And by that I mean technically an issue with judging, or technically an issue with some category or a judge or something like that, where I feel it's appropriate. Largely, but I will always keep them appraised of where we're up to.
Right.
So the team is kind of me, or CCS Insight, myself, the CC Group, who are a magnificent and long-standing supporter of the GloMos, with Richard Fogg and Beth Sharples, and then the team inside the GSMA.
So this will be my 10th year. Scratch the.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I feel like I'm leveling up. Right? Should have been, 12, but COVID got us all, right?
There you go.
And the event for me, I remember the first time I went, and just like my mind being like, I had been in tech for just over a year and was thrown into the deep end of it. But I've actually never been to the awards. It's taken me a decade to feel like I needed to see more. And we did enter one year with the Israeli company I first got into tech with. Mm-hmm. But we didn't get shortlisted, and then I wasn't in the position to be one of the ones that went anyway. How large is it? What's the production value of GloMo's night of?
It takes a long time to sort out, because it's a big old session. So there's 3 elements to it, I think, which are kind of driving it. There's the GloMos itself, of course. We have to get that right, and make sure that you don't have an Oscars moment where you announce the wrong winner. So we have we have to go through that a little bit. So there's a rehearsal that goes on the Sunday. We're having calls now on a weekly basis to plan the script, and to plan and agree the order in which they'll be given out. That's not always a given, because we like to have Matt's Matt Grignard, as mentioned earlier, John Hoffman, who's the guy in charge of Mobile World Congress, and I'd like to have one or two of the judges on stage as well, handing out one or two awards where I can, just to reflect that their involvement in it. So we have to. That sounds quite straightforward, but I think, as you both know, that's not easy to coordinate. We have a formal and full rehearsal on the Saturday afternoon before we do it on the Wednesday, and that will iron out some of the tweaks we have to do on particularly script. Script is where we have to be careful. It will this year be broadcast live on Mobile World Live, which takes it into everybody's hotel room. It'll take it all across the grounds. It's at 5:30 on a Wednesday, so it'll be busy. We have seating in the area where we are in Hall 6 for about 180 people. But last year we had about 200 seats, and I think the GSMA estimated there was about 700 people there. So it's buzzy, it's lively.
Right.
And because you've got lots of competitors literally competing with one another, it can get pretty leery at times. But I love that. I think it's wonderful. It's part of the fun. And when you're going up and somebody gets booed because they've won it because the competitors don't like it. I think that's all part of the cut and throat. It's just
so you'll have to turn up this year, I think, Frankie, and then see how it goes.
It's fun.
It's fun and be part of the fun.
Yeah, and with broadcasting it live, I was like, I haven't seen it at all, and that was another one of the things when the MWC Live was on the subway. I'm like, this event is unlike anything I have ever seen. Right? Like they put it on the subway for us. What's happening?
Mobile World Congress to Barcelona is now worth more in cash terms than the Olympics was 30 years ago each year.
Doubt.
So, and it's
a sustainable relationship where they can actually put time instead of just go in and get out. It's an incredible city commercial working relationship, in my opinion, that has just been astonishing for Barcelona.
And the Barcelona federal area has invested heavily in both the FIRA and the transport connections, because when you're trying to there isn't many cities in the world that can move 100,000 people around. Just can't do it.
Extra,
I don't care who
100 extra thousand people.
Exactly. And you've got to accommodate them. And there will be a lot of complaints, as there always is, about the cost of being there. It's not going to change. I always say to my guys, listen, I agree. I've got to sign off the recs. It's very expensive. It's not going to change if you whinge. So let's just get on with it and make it happen.
Besides, what's the cost of not being there?
Well, I think it's unimaginable for some, to be honest with you. Yeah. And for us, we're going to have 16, CCS Insight are going to have 16 people there this year. Because for us, it's a great way of getting to meet clients. Honestly, it's a bit of economics. Because we're going to have people down there. So we don't have to fly to Europe, fly to America, fly to Asia. Right. They're all there. And so we're going to bring people in on kind of a rolling thunder basis to come through to meet various people in a variety of ways. You can't. I know we should be sustainable and we should think about that and all those good things. But honestly, it's a once in an annual lifetime. An annual opportunity. And I think that it's unimaginable not to be there. Unimaginable.
Yeah. Big companies, small companies, as a little entrepreneur, right? That amount of flights to clients and being able to see them face to face, especially in the more or less nonprofit sector, as I tend to put my efforts, it is a tremendous, it's just essential.
I agree entirely. And we justify it by offsetting it, of course, because that's what we do as a business. Honestly, net, we're probably going to have less impact on the planet by being in Barcelona in that kind of rolling thunder. And I think that was rugby coming out there. And
doesn't mean anything to Frankie.
So all of those things are really, really important to us. And honestly, MWC is business gets done there. We're not in there glad handing. Business gets done.
Yeah. Regulatory work gets done. Industry technology standards get updated and shared. It's not an event. Yes, it's a behemoth. And yes, there are, all the challenges and pain points and realities that come along with that. But, if you're going to if tech is going to underpin every industry, it's only going to continue to do. If
I agree.
Major, world-changing technologies are going to just become a feature within our apps, right? Like
Exactly.
You're not going to do that without having an organization like this, and without having an organization like GloMo's to, be that driver for greatness and to really inspire. Competition is very important. Look at the regulatory models, what we say about competition overall, so.
And I think the one thing I'd say about GloMo's as well, two things I'd say about it, just to finish off the bit about what the program is. The first one is there is a thing called the CTO Choice Award, and that is a bunch of 31 this year CTO organizations and their leaders making a choice of the 9 winners of the mobile tech category and choosing the best of those winners. Becomes
very cool.
The CTO Choice Award. And that's cost €500 to get into that category. Imagine the coverage and exposure you're getting, both to influencers and analysts and to those groups. If you start to push through into that space, you'd be paying certainly hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably millions of dollars to get to that kind of exposure anywhere else. I think that's really important. And then the other one is people shouldn't forget there is a GloMo still to be decided, and that is we have a best in show GloMo. So that's largely around products, but it could be a service if we see something that's particularly engaging. And we ask a group of judges to go around. We've got 11, I think, who go around and tell us by Tuesday evening what they think the best in show is, whatever that is, and then we award that on TV on Wednesday morning.
Very good. That's a very good place to finish up with. I think you've explained, and it's been fascinating for those people who've not necessarily heard much about the GloMo Awards and the effect it has on the industry as a whole, and it's sort of trying to bring best practice to the fore and share that across the industry. So from my side, and I think Frankie's side, we're really happy to have had you on this podcast and the previous one as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our new podcast. If you have any feedback from today's episode or know of any stories to be told involving digital technology in telecoms doing good, then please do let us know via email, feedback@digiteltalk.com. Also, feel free to send us a message on LinkedIn. It would be great to hear from you.
Before we go, if you've enjoyed today's episode and would like to support the podcast, then don't forget to give us a follow and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Also, if you'd like to leave us a review or share it with your colleagues, it really helps us on the channel.
I hope you can tune in to our next episode where we'll be heading to the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona to see what's happening in the telecom industry.
Thanks so much for being a part of our audience today, and hopefully you'll join us next time.
That's all we've got time for, so it's goodbye from me.
And that's goodbye from him. Bye for now.